Welcome, everyone. I'm Carol Lourie, host of the Her Health and Spirit podcast and the upcoming summit. And today we're lucky enough to have Dr. Maya Shetreat-Klein, who is a neurologist, herbalist, urban farmer, and the author of The Dirt Cure, Healthy Food, Healthy Gut, Happy Child by Simon & Schuster, published in 2016, which has been translated into 10 languages. So we can all see what an important concept this book is talking about. She's been featured in the New York Times, The Telegraph, NPR, Sky News, The Dr. Oz Show, and many more. Board certified in adult and child neurology as well as pediatrics, Dr. Maya completed the University of Arizona's fellowship in integrative medicine and now serves on their faculty. She works and studies with indigenous communities and healers in Ecuador. In her book and her practice, she offers an integrative and spiritual approach to allowing moving beyond chronic health problems in children and adults. She's also the founder of the Terrain Institute, where she teaches terrain medicine, which is trademarked, an earth-based program for transformational healing. So welcome, Dr. Maya.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're very lucky to have you. Thank you for taking time out of your busy practice. So I wanted to start that at the core of your work is an honest desire to serve and help others. Can you talk about what fuels that wish? Where did your personal mission to affect the lives of others first begin? What keeps it going? And I'd like you to talk about your wonderful book and how those ideas came to being.
Well, I think, that's an interesting question because I think that most people become doctors because they do want to help people. But for me, so I've been engaged in kind of this journey for a long time. But my shift really occurred, where I kind of really entered into a new paradigm of how I wanted to help people when my own son became ill when he was a year old. So I'd had my 3 children during my training, my first during medical school and my second during residency and my third during my neurology fellowship. And so my youngest developed really severe asthma and actually sort of plateaued in his development when he turned a year. And it took a lot of detective work to eventually discover that the major issue that he was facing was a soy allergy. And that really took me into understanding, how food really impacts not just our well-being in terms of like being healthy and strong, but really it can make us sick as well. And not only that, but it could affect how our brains function. And because I'm a neurologist, obviously that, immediately translated to, well, how could this impact all my patients? Because I was seeing a lot of children who had, really severe chronic conditions from, autism to epilepsy to, migraines to ADHD to tics and OCD. And, what ended up happening was it really was a paradigm that has helped me for now, over a decade to reverse very, ongoing chronic or intractable illnesses in a lot of children.
Wonderful. I'm sorry that it's interesting how for when I'm doing these interviews, it's often a personal moment that happens in our lives that really gives us what I call the nudge moment of pushing us, on a new path. And you're now applying that not only to your family, but also in your practice. And I'm sure all of your patients are really benefiting from this approach.
Yeah, well, and I think that actually children are, and family members, but especially children are these amazing spiritual teachers for us, because you're engaged in a way that, like, really you're not engaged with most people. And the level of responsibility and investment and all these different things and just kind of like how connected you are that like they, a lot of times, and I talk about this a lot with people in my practice, it's like when they're not behaving well or they have an illness or whatever's going on, sometimes like there's a sort of a message in that. It doesn't mean like that's the only reason it's happening, and it doesn't mean that, there aren't, it's not a very complicated situation. And certainly we don't always choose our lessons. Like we would not always choose the lessons that we're given, but there are a lot of times opportunities. And I see so many parents kind of really awakening to what health truly is, what well-being is, and kind of living much better, healthier, and happier lives after they go through something, kind of significant health-wise from their children. So it is a very interesting thing that, we sort of are presented with these kinds of lessons.
It's true. One thing that's become increasingly important to me as a practitioner is to help people see the inroads between traditional Western medicine and other healing modalities, to help them understand that healing is more than a pill in the bottle, which is what we've just been talking about. Could you expand on your thoughts on this?
Well, the way that I've learned, when I've studied with indigenous healers, is that health is really a function of relationship, and illness is because we're in bad relations, and it could either be because we're in bad relations with ourselves or bad relations with our community in some way, the people around us, or in bad relations with our place, kind of our physical landscape. And so that I think it's for these, in this paradigm, physical illness is actually a very, it's the end of the road. Like you've already missed a lot of opportunities by the time you're actually having physical manifestations of illness. So for that reason, I do think that, there's a much bigger picture in terms of healing than, certainly a pill in a bottle, even, and I'm an herbalist, but even a plant, even even eating the right foods. I mean, all of those things are critical. Certainly what we eat is critical, and for me, my paradigm of dirt is really about being exposed to microbes, eating fresh food from healthy soil, and being in nature. And I do think that those are really foundational. But the reason why is because it's really, in many ways, about being in community with your terrain, with kind of this world around you. And so that's really, I think, the key.
So let's have you just expand on that a little bit regarding your book, The Dirt Cure, and the concept that you just said is so critically important. And I don't really think enough people are aware of even, the concepts of your book and what you just said.
Right. Well, I called my book The Dirt Cure. It's sort of, it's a little tongue-in-cheek, but, we have this idea of like getting dirty is bad, and we've really sanitized our lives in many ways, right? Because we've sanitized our bodies using things like antibiotics, really commonly. We've sanitized our homes with like bleach or hand sanitizer. We've sanitized even our lives, right, by not going outside and staying indoors, all the screen time, and people's fear of, getting dirty, getting hurt, stranger danger, whatever it might be. So here we're living in this kind of sanitized way, which we thought for a long time, that something sanitary was really very, very good. But it turns out that what we need is we actually need this kind of constant community of microbes, right? Like of being exposed to different kinds of germs, being exposed to lots of different diverse compounds in our food, and knowing that food is coming from actually healthy soil, because soil is really the key to the health of our food and therefore our own health, and being in nature, because that's like part of feeding us not just on a physical level but on an emotional level and a spiritual level. And there's tremendous data speaking about how time in nature does everything from better sleep and lower cortisol levels, lower stress, and better focus, and all of those kinds of things, better test scores, you name it, to actually having lower inflammatory markers and higher anti-cancer proteins. Mm-hmm. So our bodies respond dramatically to being in nature. And these three, kind of pillars are the foundation of good health.
That's just wonderful, and I absolutely support that and encourage all my patients. And I've given your name with the book to so many people, and they all come back to me, and it's really the beginning of a new conversation with people in my practice. So with that, we're going to wind up here with our interview with Dr. Maya, and I wish everybody a really wonderful day. There is going to be a lot more information coming on her Health and Healing Summit, and there's going to be a lot more information coming with her Health and Spirit Summit. And I wish everybody a wonderful holiday season, and we'll be in touch soon. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you for listening. Bye.